Elizabeth I was born on September 7, 1533, at Greenwich Palace, to King Henry VIII and his second wife, Anne Boleyn. Her birth was a moment of great expectation, as Henry VIII desperately wanted a male heir to secure the Tudor dynasty. However, the birth of a daughter, rather than the anticipated son, was a profound disappointment to the king. Anne Boleyn, who had replaced Catherine of Aragon as queen, was under immense pressure to produce a male heir. Elizabeth's arrival, though initially celebrated, soon became a symbol of Anne's failure in the eyes of the king. This disappointment marked the beginning of the end for Anne, who would eventually be executed. When Elizabeth was just 2.5 years old, her mother, Anne Boleyn, was accused of adultery, treason, and incest. Whether these charges were true or fabricated to facilitate Henry's desire to remarry is still debated. On May 19, 1536, Anne was executed at the Tower of London. Elizabeth, now declared illegitimate, was removed from the line of succession and stripped of her title as princess. She was relegated to a lesser status. Despite the stigma of her illegitimacy, Elizabeth received an exceptional education, overseen by some of the finest tutors in England, such as the scholar Roger Ascham. She mastered several languages including Latin, Greek, French, and Italian. Elizabeth grew up in various royal residences, often living away from her father's court. The emotional distance between her and Henry VIII was palpable, but Elizabeth showed a resilience and intelligence that impressed those around her. In 1547, Henry VIII died and Elizabeth's half-brother, Edward VI, ascended the throne at the age of 9. Edward's reign was dominated by a regency council, as he was too young to rule independently. When Edward VI died in 1553, a succession crisis erupted. Lady Jane Grey was briefly proclaimed queen, but Elizabeth's half-sister Mary, who was a staunch Catholic, soon seized the throne, with the support of the English people. Mary I sought to restore Catholicism in England, reversing her father's and brother's Protestant reforms. As a Protestant, Elizabeth was viewed with suspicion by Mary, who saw her as a threat to the Catholic restoration. Elizabeth was implicated in various plots against Mary, most notably the Wyatt's Rebellion in 1554, which aimed to overthrow Mary and place Elizabeth on the throne. Elizabeth was imprisoned in the Tower of London. When Mary I died childless on November 17, 1558, Elizabeth was next in line for the throne. On January 15, 1559, she was crowned Queen of England in a grand ceremony at Westminster Abbey. Elizabeth's religious settlement, known as the Elizabethan religious settlement, aimed to create a middle ground between Catholicism and Protestantism, establishing the Church of England with the monarch as its supreme governor. One of the most significant threats to Elizabeth's reign came from her cousin, Mary, Queen of Scots. Mary, a Catholic, had a strong claim to the English throne, and was seen by many Catholics as the legitimate queen. In 1588, one of the most defining moments of Elizabeth's reign occurred when Spain, under King Philip II, launched the Spanish Armada, a massive fleet intended to invade England and overthrow the Protestant queen. The latter part of Elizabeth's reign is often referred to as the Elizabethan Era, a golden age of English culture. This period saw an extraordinary flowering of literature, theater, and music.